makes no sense to me to kill someone who's killed someone to show the killing is wrong. It would be illogical, and I think it's cruel and unusual punishment. We're not giving anyone the benefit of possible later evidence to be revealed, and that it's used in a discriminatory manner in this country, in that most of the people on death row have been black, and most of the people put to death in this country have been black. Almost all have been poor.
Attorney General Shevin.
Well, Tom, briefly, we think the death penalty is necessary, that it's a necessary tool for law enforcement, that it is a deterrent. It's a specific deterrent to the individual because he won't kill again. It's a general deterrent to the population. Specifically with regard to rapists and robbers, we believe that there's got to be a greater punishment for taking a human life. If there isn't, then there's some kind of an incentive to eliminate the rape victim and eliminate the robbery victim, thereby avoiding the potential of being apprehended. So what we're saying is that capital punishment, if used judiciously, can be a vehicle for saving innocent lives.
Ms. Levy, a recent Gallup poll indicates that 57% of the people in America now approve of the use of capital punishment. Aren't you up against a situation in which the law is reflecting the will of the majority of the people as interpreted by the Supreme Court, staying within the bounds of cruel and unusual punishment?
I think public opinion here is a very strange thing. 10 years ago, the majority of the American people were in favor of the abolition of the death penalty. 10 years ago, we had executions. I think that Gary Gilmore made a very important point to his pardon board last week when he said he thinks that the people want capital punishment, but they don't want executions. I think when people approve of the death penalty, it's in the abstract. We're talking about killing the 425 people now on death row. It's a very different matter.
Attorney General Shevin, are people seeking the death penalty out of a sense of vengeance and frustration for the high crime rate, and is that part of the American system of justice?
Well, I don't think it's vengeance. I think retribution definitely plays a part. The value of human life. Is human life so valuable that you're going to say that if someone wantonly takes an innocent human life, that he's going to have to pay an ultimate price? I don't think you can protect human life and protect the innocent, law-abiding citizen unless you have a penalty and a punishment that everyone can respect and recognize will be available against them if they wantonly take a human life and innocently take an innocent human life. So I don't think it's a matter of vengeance. I think it's a matter of deterrence. I think retribution does play a role. I think it is part of the American judicial system. And I don't agree that people want it, but they really don't want it. I think that, sure, when you're talking about taking a human life, you have to be absolutely certain that you've got the right person. You have to provide him ample due process. And we've got such detailed procedures before we can ever get to the point of an execution that we are going the last mile to protect the individual, to make certain that we've got the right individual who's charged with the crime, that he has in fact been properly convicted. And in Gilmore's case, I don't think the significance is that Gilmore wants to be executed. The significance is that Gilmore was found guilty of killing an innocent person, and that he was convicted of that crime, and that he was sentenced to die. And I think it's much more significant that he was sentenced to die than whether or not he wants to die.
But knowing that he could die for the crimes that he committed, he was not deterred.
Well, he was not deterred, but the question is, will Gilmore get out of prison? Will he kill someone within the prison walls? He's already killed, apparently, 2 people. He's been charged with 2 murders. He's been convicted of 1. He's coming to trial on a 2nd. The question is, what do you do with an individual like Gilmore, who perhaps takes more than 1 human life? Do you let him go back into society? Do you take the risk of an early pardon or an early parole? These are the kinds of problems that I think you have to face up to.
Those are real questions, Ms. Levy, for especially the families of the victims of Gary Gilmore and other convicted murderers.
Yes, I think that people, when they say they want the death penalty, my feeling is what they're saying is they want to be protected and they want to see justice done. And they don't have that feeling now. But I think that we can have that feeling if we know, first of all, if politicians like Mr. Shevin stop using the deterrence argument, which the Supreme Court has already said is inconclusive. There's been no evidence ever to show that the death penalty is a deterrent, mainly because most murders are carried out without the murderer thinking of any form of punishment. They're carried out in rage, in fear, in a very high emotional state under the influence of drugs or alcohol, not where a rational thinking process is taking place. You or I would be deterred by the death penalty. We would also be deterred by a prison sentence. I think that's a false issue. I think when we talk about the reverence for human life, we have to see that the state should be setting an example, should be setting a moral example for society to live by. And if the state says that taking a life is the way to solve a problem, I think that it's a thinking process that's identical with the murderer.
Well, let me comment on that. I realize that the figures are inconclusive. I argued the case in the United States Supreme Court that we recently won, and I know that it's sort of a statistical stalemate as far as whether there are conclusive figures on deterrence, but let me just point to one figure, and that is that between 1935 and 1965, there were between 7,000 and 9,000 murders a year in the United States. From 1965 to 75, a period of some 10 years, during which the death penalty was only used 2 or 3 times from 65 to 67 and has not been used from 67 on through the present date, the homicide rate jumped from that steady 7,000 to 9,000 a year up to 22,000 and 23,000 a year. Now, I recognize there are other factors that cause general increases in crime, but how did the number of murders jump from 7,000 a year to 22,000 a year? That's 14,000 innocent lives being taken each and every year when there wasn't a death penalty. I think the death penalty is society's response to trying to save innocent lives and to bring the homicide rate down.
Let me, if I can, in the time that we have left, address the question that was raised at the outset about discrimination.
Yes.
Mr. Chevin, if you're white, employed, and educated, and found guilty of murder, aren't your chances greater that you're going to escape the death penalty than if you're black or brown or red, unemployed, and not educated?
I'm not willing to concede that at the present time, Tom. I think years ago, up until the Furman decision of the United States Supreme Court, that was true. And there were many states in which the death penalty might have been used as a tool of discrimination. But the courts have said you've got to fashion a fair law, one that applies even-handedly. And let me talk about the Florida experience. We have about 80 men on death row. About 60% of them are white, 40% of them are black. Now, she can come back and say, well, your population, your black population in Florida is only 10%. But the fact remains that during the past 3 years, 2/3 of the murders happen to be committed by people who were black. So what I'm saying is, it has been applied fairly and is being applied today in a fair, even-handed manner.
We obviously cannot settle the question here. It is time now for a station break.
Que s'en allait tout simplement, routier pauvre, chantant, en doucement, en doux lieu, il ne parle que du bon Dieu, il ne parle que du bon Dieu. Dominique, s'en allait simplement, routier pauvre, chantant, en doucement, en doux lieu, il ne parle que du bon Dieu, il ne parle que du bon Dieu. S'en allait tout simplement, routier pauvre, chantant, en doucement, en doux lieu, il ne parle que du bon Dieu, il ne parle que du bon Dieu. Dominique, s'en allait tout simplement, routier pauvre, chantant, en doucement, en doux lieu, il ne parle que du bon Dieu, il ne parle que du bon Dieu. Dominique, s'en allait tout simplement, routier pauvre, chantant, en doucement, en doux lieu, il ne parle que du bon Dieu, il ne parle que du bon Dieu. Dominique, s'en allait tout simplement, routier pauvre, chantant, en doucement, en doux lieu, il ne parle que du bon Dieu, il ne parle que du bon Dieu. Nothing more than feeling, solamente dime, trying to forget one, como olvidarme, feelings of love, sentimientos de amor, teardrops, lágrimas, rolling down on my face, rotande mi soho, trying to forget one, trato di olvidarmi, feeling the void.
No good. How do you like it so far? I'll hold it for him. He's my friend.
Im Sommer schied Sonne, im Winter durchschneit's, in der Schweiz, in der Schweiz, in der Schweiz.
Wait.
Yo-da-day, yo-ho-ho. That's not the right key either, Ralph. Wait, I'm getting there.
It's only an hour show, you know.
Im Sommer schied Sonne, im Winter durchschneit's, in der Schweiz, in der Schweiz, in der Schweiz.
Wait.
Yo-da-day, yo-ho-ho.
Do it again.
Yo-da-day, yo-ho-ho.
Is that great? Originally a French song called Une chanson douce.
But isn't this the song that your mother used to sing to
Yes,
you?
it's a very old French song.
Une chanson douce que me chante ma maman. Here's a little song my mother used to sing to me. En suçant mon pouce, j'écoutais Amanda. This pretty little song she sang while I was on her knee.
Cette
chanson douce, je veux la chanter pour toi. I can still recall that soft and plaintive melody. Car ta peau est douce comme la mousse des How precious were the words my mother used to sing to me. Oh, le joli conte que voilà. When you grow to be a man, just be Et le brave chevalier passa. Always do the best you can in life. Will be good to you. Une chanson douce que me chantait ma maman. You have faith, my children, with such a simple thought. You see. En suçant mon pouce, j'écoutais en m'endormant. How precious were the words my mother used to sing to me. Oh, le joli conte que voilà. When you grow to be a man, just be honest and true. Et dans les bras du beau chevalier. Always do the best you can and life will be good to you. Une chanson douce que me chantait ma maman. If you have faith, my children, with such a simple thought you'll see. En suçant mon pouce, j'écoutais dans mon dos. How precious were the words my mother used to sing to me. En suçant mon pouce, j'écoutais dans mon dos. How precious were the words my mother used to sing to me. And for Dominique, Nique s'en allait, s'appellant au Dieu pour le chanteur. En espérant que Dieu donne le pain du bon Dieu, il va pour le dernier bon.
Nothing more than feelings, trying to forget my feelings of love, teardrops rolling down on my face, trying to forget my feelings of love. Feelings, for all my life I'll feel it. I wish I'd never met you, girl. You'll never come again. I wear a silly grin the moment you come into view. Chances are you think that I'm in love with you. Just because my composure sort of slips the moment your lips meet mine, chances are you think my heart's your Valentine. In the magic of moonlight, when I sigh, hold me close, dear. Chances are you believe the stars that fill the skies are in my eyes. Guess you feel you'll always be the one and only one for me. And if you think you could, well, chances are your chances are awfully good. The chances are your chances are awfully
All the songs I rehearsed we're not doing.
Look at me.
I'm so
hopeless. I'm too misty and too much in love. Look at
This is a song you've never heard before. Probably.
Hurry up, sunrise, and chase all the shadows away. Soon as it's morning, my baby is coming to stay. Doesn't the night seem unending? Oh, don't the hours go slow? Seems I've been waiting for heaven knows how long. Have some pity and hurry up, sunrise, it's time for the rooster to crow. Time for this heartache to wake up and get up and go. And when I need love tomorrow, this time love won't get away. I'll say, move along slow, coach, I can't stand a moment's delay. Hey, hurry up, sunrise, and bring me a beautiful day. Doesn't the night seem unending? Oh, don't the hours go slow? Seems I've been waiting for heaven knows how long. Have some pity and hurry up, sunrise, it's time for the rooster to crow. Time for this heartache to wake up and get up and go. And when I need love tomorrow, this time love won't get away. I'll say, move along slow, coach. Move along slow, coach, I can't stand a moment's delay. Hurry up, sunrise, and bring me a beautiful day. Oh, hurry up, sunrise, and bring me a beautiful day. I was born in San Francisco when the bay was full of cruisers, where the west wind smells of fishing boats for 50 miles around. My father wore a crew cut. He was lean and he was was handsome, and my mother wore a sash of yellow roses on her gown. They would walk me down from Green Street, past cathedrals on the hillside, and the carillons could fill the hearts of anyone in town. I remember how they looked then, when their eyes were always living, when my father loved a girl with yellow roses on her gown. Then we moved to Placer County, where the weather was a joker, and I watched my parents' laughter turn from amber into eyes. But my father never stumbled. He would tell me things would change soon. He would bear and bear the insults of a pair of loaded dice. And my mother stood beside him, though her heart was on the hillside of a city where a soldier and his lover bedded down. And at night, amid the whisper of the pines and manzanita, she would cry into a sash of yellow roses on a gown. Now my father's living eastward by the Sacramento River, and he swears to me he's happy with his practice and some land. In the springtime and the summer, when the fog is off the valley, I visit him on weekends. His grass is overgrown.
Spend.
I think I'm going out of my head. Yes, I think I'm going out of my head. Over you, over you. I want you to want me. I need you so badly, I can't think of anything but you. It's too good to be true. I can't think of anything but you. And I think I'm going out of
Man's gotta walk through a freezing rain, through a appreciate the sun. He said, life's a job and you've got to earn your pay. Till you know the pain of losing, you can't realize you've won. Those are things my daddy used to say. Daddy used to say there's just a barbed wire fence between hell and a hillside farm. He raised up a crop of corn and kids by the muscle in his arm. Sickness came and Mama went. He was left with more than his share. He said he and the Lord were friends. He got a lot of help with his prayers. Well, a man's gotta walk through a freezing rain to appreciate the sun. He said, life's a job and you've got to earn your pay. Till you know the pain of losing, you can't realize you've won. Those are things my daddy used to say. James was 12 and I had just turned 10, and Cora Lee was 9. The way she cleaned and swept that house, you'd never know she was blind. Daddy used to say when he held her close, you're so lucky, Cora Lee. You don't see the world as it is, any way you want it to be. Oh, a man's gotta walk through a freezing rain to appreciate the sun. He said, life's a job and you've got to earn your pay. You know the pain of losing, you can't realize you've won. Those are things my daddy used to say. Those are things my daddy used to say. Love the things my daddy used to say.